Why would you think that football is the biggest sport in the world as it is?
Because of the history of football, I think it's always been a working man's game. It's always been a working, you know, classed with working people going to the football match on a weekend, having a great weekend. It's one of the few places in your working life and in your general mundane week where you can scream and shout your head off and get away with it, isn't it? And it's, I think, certainly when Sunderland was an industrial town, we were industry, dirty, smelly industry, shipyards, power stations, coal mines. People looked forward to that Saturday afternoon when they could go to that football match. And I mean, they used to get crowds in Old Roker Park. They've had 60,000 people there. How it ever took that many, but obviously before crowds were regulated, they just used to pile in. And big cup matches, sort of, they've had 60,000 people there in an old ground.
What's your personal relationship like with the club in all these observations that you're making? What's your own story in the
Well,
club?
I remember I remember my dad taking me along to the club. And then there was the old Roker Park. There was a boys' end. So I remember my dad sort of lifting me onto the barrier so I could see the game because there was just a sea of people you couldn't see, but you lifted on top of the barrier. Now I can't. My memory is not that great of the game. My dad told me afterwards, years later, that the the first game I ever went to, and he took me to, I must have been very young, but that was the game where Brian Clough was injured and never played again. So that was like quite a famous game in the Sunderland history. Brian Clough being our main striker, and he was taken out the game and never played football again. So that was my first game of football, if you want.
Do you have a favourite memory?
I think the favourite memories of more recent years are when Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips used to play for us. It was a pleasure to watch. They were lining up to score goals. They were just queuing up to score a goal, and it was win after win after win, and it was all. It was a big Irish influence as well, with Roy Keane coming in. Um, Obviously Peter Reid was there at the time, and then Roy Keane came in, and it was a massive Irish influence, and that was all good. That was all really good, and and a lot of great memories of that. But when we got the promotion, when Roy Keane's promotion from into the Premier League, that game. And I don't know if it was the music in the stadium. Everybody was buoyant. Everybody was singing away. They walked round with their families. The team lifted with a cup in the hand, and it was just the promotion. We thought, here we go, here we go. The big time is here, and it was for a while.
Do you have any memories of Kevin Ball at all? Just thrown out there.
Just watching Kevin Ball, and he was one of the great heroes of I've had on occasion I've bumped into him and just shook his hand, but he'll not remember that. But just said hello, and I think he was happy to someone knew who he was. But just watching this man on the field, he was like the Granit Xhaka of his day. He was. We've got another Kevin Ball now in Granit Xhaka. He's the guy. He was bossing the players. And he was so hard. He was a hard player, which I think you need in the middle of the park. Um, just, in the tough games, we need someone. We need a Kevin Ball. And as I say, I think we've got one this season now.
So a lot of what we've been discovering, speaking to different people, is around sort of the sheer passion that people have for the club, and where that came from. Of course, people have cared about it for a long, long
Yeah.
time. And it really is kind of it's become an integral part of the community. But
Yes.
I think there's a great deal of that passion in recent times, in the last few decades, have been inspired from that kind of almost loss of industry. Is there anything you'd be able to share your thoughts on that at all, and why the club means so much to people?
Yeah, obviously in the 80s, there was a massive change in Sunderland, massive change when we lost the shipyards and the coal mines altogether. It was like overnight, in effect, although it took a couple of years for it all to dwindle down. And thankfully, we got the Nissan factory after that. So a lot of the guys from the shipyards and pit went to Nissan and retrained. So that you still had that solid workforce of an industrial area. The Northeast in general, isn't it? But Sunderland, having so many shipyards all together in one place and coal mines, you had this massive workforce. And as I said before, that passion and the banter is good as well. Within the Nissan factory, I know for a fact, you've got your Newcastle contingent and your Sunderland contingents, and the banter between them is tremendous. It's part of the whole game. The passion of them two, because the Newcastle fans are just as passionate, and it's great. It is great to see, and that was the thing behind it. The weekly sort of mundane work, if you want, going down to the yard. My dad was in the shipyards, and I would take him down. I never went into the shipyards, thankfully. And I used to, when I was home on leave, I was in the Merchant Navy. When I was home on leave, I used to take my dad to work. So it was the only way I could borrow his car, you see. That I used to take him to work on a morning, and I used to see all these guys, miserable as sin, walking into work on a grey morning with the haversacks, and all had flat caps on, all flat caps. And then I used to pick them up again at 5 o'clock, 5:30 at night, and they were all absolutely shattered. But it was that work ethic. Come the weekends was just so special for them. And part of that weekend was a couple of pints with the lads, have a bit chat, and you match. It was so important. In fact, my dad, he was an avid football supporter, but there was none of the animosity and all that between Newcastle and Sunderland. There was banter.
Yeah.
There was the competition, but nothing like today. Um, my dad used to go to the home game, watch Sunderland to Roker Park. Then, the next week Newcastle will be at home, so he used to get the train through and watch Newcastle, and that was the way they did it. Obviously, they couldn't afford to go to away matches, so so people are and football until recent years was always a working man's game, a working man, and in working areas like London, all the clubs from around London were always a working man's game. In London, Birmingham, heartland of, but the northeast and industrial areas tend to Glasgow. You look at Glasgow, industrial city.
Would you almost a quick question? Would you almost consider it a religion here to people, in a sense,
Sorry,
a religion to people almost the club?
I would say so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The religion. Well, I think religion. You can take it or leave it. Religion. It's. I would say yes. Yeah. The people are so passionate, and Yeah, I would say I would describe it as a religion.
And my last question would be, in your own words and in your own outlook on things, what is your hope for the future of Sunderland, both city and club?
City and club. Wow, that's a question. So obviously, Premier League survival is ultimate, and the plans that the owners have for the club, I think it depends on Premier League survival. Us being a Premier League club established. When you look at some of the clubs, Brighton Hove Albion, Brentford, stuff like that, who are now established, Bournemouth, they're getting 11,000 people there. We're getting 50,000 people nearly at the club. And when it goes up to 60, when the build the club end up, it'll be over 60,000, and we'll get it. This is the area we live in. And what I say is a changed audience or crowd at the football club, where you see families coming, families, kids, and they're all gonna inherit that passion because the Stadium of Light, is so central to the whole riverside of Sunderland. When they get that end built up, the south end built up, you'll be able to see it from the city centre. It'll be a sight, some sight, especially on a night where it's all lit up. It'll be fantastic sight with a new bridge and the stadium there. So for Sunderland, it's you know a few years ago they hinted at building the stadium out on some land that Nissan owned, trying to get Nissan involved, and I'm so glad they didn't. That would have been the death knell of the club. The fact that there's such a large stadium in the city centre now, in a massive development area as well, and I'm just looking forward to the plans coming to fruition. So much happening in Sunderland now. It's fantastic.
As a last note, quickly, how does it feel to be back in the Prem, and do you think we're here to stay?
Yes. And it feels fantastic. And we'll go through obviously low points like we have done lately. But the earlier in the season when we were playing the Liverpools, playing the Man Cities and Man Uniteds and that, it's just so great. And I honestly think the Premiership is a better league with Sunderland in it. Certainly the media, the football media love Sunderland to be in it because of the fan base, because the massive fan base and the passion in the northeast. And hopefully Middlesbrough come up as well. So you'll have three the northeast teams in the Premier League fighting away. It'd be fantastic. So yeah, established Premier League club. We should not say lower leagues again. And with certainly with the feedback you get from the current owners, that looks like the case. They're happy to invest and have been very successful in what they've done.